this moment in hockey history. The Nashville Predators currently find themselves in fourth place in the Central Division after 46 games skated. They hold a record of 25-20-1. 51 points has them 8 points shy of an automatic qualifying playoff spot of third place in Central Division. They are 13 points shy of first place in the Central Division. The Predators' next game will take place on home ice. It'll be a one-night stand against the Florida Panthers. We'll talk Panthers in a moment, but first, Preds' home ice record, 13-11-0. The Preds have scored 143 goals this season. They've given up 142. They have a goal differential of +1. Now, I mentioned the Central Division standings, so let's give you the most updated standings. Everybody's played a couple of games since the last time we talked about this, and the Winnipeg Jets continue being red hot, picking up their 30th victory of the season. They now have a record of 30, 10 regulation losses, 4 overtime losses, 64 points. Overall, has them 1 point ahead of the second-place Colorado Avalanche, who have skated in 3 more games than Winnipeg, but have the same number of regulation wins. It comes in the losses category of 14 and overtime losses, 3, where Colorado falls behind the Winnipeg Jets with 63 points. Dallas starts at 59 points in third place. The Nashville Predators are in fourth place with 51 points. The Arizona Coyotes are creeping up fast at 47 points in fifth place. The St. Louis Blues are in sixth place with 46 points. The Minnesota Wild are in seventh place with 43 points. And you'll find the Chicago Blackhawks in eighth and last place in the Central Division after 46 games skated with just 30 points on the season. Now, for the Nashville Predators, it's the first meeting of the season between the Preds and the Panthers. They'll have one more meeting that'll take place on March the 21st when the Preds will head on off to what I can only imagine right now is a very comfortable and warm southern Florida. I sure wish we were all there together right now. Yes, together, Renegades. I wish we were all there together for the Preds once they wrap up this game, one game at home against the Florida Panthers Thursday, back in Minnesota to start a 3-game road trip Saturday in Edmonton, and next week they're in Ottawa before coming home to wrap up the month of January on the 31st versus the LA Kings. And then the Preds will not have a game again until February the 10th when they welcome in the Arizona Coyotes. Now, for the Florida Panthers, we've not had a chance to talk about them all season long. It's the first time the Preds are seeing them, but they are having quite a nice season. Of course, they were in the Stanley Cup final last year as an 8 seed. We all remember that, but they have improved considerably. 27-14-4 on the regular season. 58 points has them second in the Atlantic Division, just behind the Boston Bruins. 14-7-2 is their road record, and that in itself is highly impressive. The goal differential, 142 for, 120 against. It's a plus 22 overall for the Florida Panthers. This is a good club right here. Most recently, their last 5 games, we go back to the 11th of January, it was a 3-2 overtime win versus the LA Kings. On the 13th of January, it was a 4-1 loss versus the New Jersey Devils. On the 15th of January, a 5-4 overtime loss versus the Anaheim Ducks. On the 17th of January, 3-2 overtime loss versus the Detroit Red Wings. And most recently, on the 19th of January, a 6-4 loss versus the Minnesota Wild. Now, taking a look inside the matchup and the numbers, respectively, in rankings for each of these clubs, you're going to find the Florida Panthers are leading in most, if not all, of these particular metrics. So let's start with the Nashville Predators goals for back home finally. 3.07 per game. It has dropped just a little bit over the road trip. 18th overall in the NHL, while the Florida Panthers are generating 3.16 goals per game, is 15th overall in the National Hockey League. The Predators giving up 3.09 per game. This is the first time in a while the Predators' goals against has been higher than the Predators' goals for. The margin of narrowness between victory and defeat, though, is still rather small, 0.02 of a point. 3.07 goals for, 3.09 goals against. That 3.09 goals against is 16th in the National Hockey League. Now, the Florida Panthers, highly impressive in this category. They're scoring 3.16 per game this season. They're only giving up 2.64 goals per game. That is 5th best in the National Hockey League. The Nashville Predators are generating 30.9 shots on goal per game. They've been right around this number for a while, 16th, right in the middle of the league. But the Florida Panthers are generating 34.1 shots on net per game. That is 2nd overall in the NHL. That means there's going to be a heavy workload for the Nashville Predators netminder, whoever that may be in this game. When it comes to the shots against category, the Preds have 30.2 per game. That's 14th overall in the NHL, while the Florida Panthers are only giving up 27 shots per game. That is a very good number. That's second overall in the National Hockey League. So in shots for and shots against, Florida Panthers are second in the NHL. When it comes to the power play, the Preds are converting at 20.6%. That's 18th in the NHL. 33 out of 160 opportunities on the season, while the Florida Panthers have the 13th best power play in the NHL, converting at 22.2%. 33 goals as well on the power play. 149 opportunities, though, for the Florida Panthers versus 160 opportunities for the Nashville Predators. That's where the difference is. On the penalty kill, the Preds, 77.6% is the kill rate. That's 24th overall in the NHL. They've given up 33 power play goals on the season. The Florida Panthers kill rate is 81.6%. Another highly impressive number. That's 11th best in the NHL. 27 power play goals against. So in the 6 measurables that we talk about going into each and every matchup, you'll find the Florida Panthers with 3 top 10 metrics in the NHL. The Predators' highest metric that they have is 14th overall in the NHL. So this Florida Panthers team is quite good. Let's talk about the individual statistics for each of these particular teams. When it comes to the visiting Florida Panthers, Reinhart, 33 goals, highly impressive number. 24 assists, added to that for 57 points. He'd be leading a lot of clubs across the NHL. Barkov, typically a troublesome one for the Nashville Predators. 11 goals and 35 assists for 46 points. World-class distribution right there. 35 assists is pacing the Florida Panthers. The 33 goals by Reinhart is, of course, pacing the Florida Panthers. Verhaeghe's at 23 goals, though. Another impressive number. 21 assists, 44 points overall. Tkachuk, 12 and 31 for 43. Rodriguez, 7 goals, 20 assists for 27 total points. On the Nashville Predators side of things, individual statistics, Philip Forsberg is at 22 goals. That paces the Nashville Predators. 27 assists, is second on the team. This is 49 points overall on the season now for Philip Forsberg. And he still maintains being above a point per game pace this season, as he has maintained for a considerable amount of time. But that number is shrinking just a little bit. The goal production has not been there in the last couple of weeks as it was before. O'Reilly's at 17 goals and 23 assists for 40 points on the season. The captain, Roman Josi, has now also reached the 40-point mark. His breakdown is 9 goals, 31 assists. Those 31 assists do represent the number 1 overall on the Preds for assists. Nyquist, 12 goals, 24 assists for 36 points, and truly having a comeback year from where he was to where he is now, signing this free agent deal with the Nashville Predators. It has really worked out for both player and franchise. Colton Sissons is 5th on the Nashville Predators in scoring, 12 goals, 11 assists for 23 points. Your anticipated goaltending matchup at Bridgestone Arena sees Bobrovsky in net. An impressive record this season, 21, 10 and 2, a 908 save percentage, a 2.55 goals against average. And we all know the long track record of Bobrovsky, the big contract, the not living up to expectations, but then coming in and regaining and reclaiming his job, and now putting up quite a nice season. Bobrovsky is certainly back. UC Saros is up and down. I would like to see him be totally back. We've seen it at times, but not at other times. On the season, 18-7-1. Effectively, that means he's a 500 goaltender on the season. 18-7-1 means 18-18. A 902 save percentage, a 2.97 goals against average, and a 2 shutouts on the season. So the save percentage being over 9, the goals against being below 3, those are good, but the record right at 500, it's not been a UC Saros type season. The slow starts, we're accustomed to that, but we're well into January now, and UC Saros is still at 500 on the season, while the Nashville Predators are going to be fighting for their franchise life the rest of the way for a playoff spot now with the emergence of the red-hot teams in the Pacific Division, Edmonton, Calgary, Seattle, all of them just suddenly turning it on from the Pacific side of things, so to the point where the LA Kings have found themselves bounced out of a playoff spot momentarily. So for the Nashville Predators, they're going to be fighting for their playoff lives the rest of the way, and they're going to have to do a better job in net from UC Saros. That's got you all set up for the Nashville Predators and the Florida Panthers, a Monday night game at Bridgestone Arena. What a weird schedule it has been in the month of January, but we're heading towards the Nashville Predators break coming up here at the end of the month. Only 5 more games after this Florida Panthers game before the Nashville Predators take almost a full 10 days off. That's going to do it for the preview. Let's get to the recap. Let's talk about what happened on the last game of the Nashville Predators road trip in Arizona. And I'll just give you this preview. The Coyotes got off the internet meme of cold chicken coming out of Nashville. Not what you want to hear going into the recap when you're talking about a critical Central Division rivalry game. But it's coming up next, right here. It's the Rebirth Sports full game recap on the Renegades of Puck podcast.